Okay, hello everyone. We're excited today to welcome Isabelle. I had the great pleasure of talking to her earlier this year, I think it was, as I sat in my yard. Do you remember that? And it was such a great conversation. I think we talked for a couple of hours, really interesting. Um,
Exactly.
and where are you speaking from today?
Today I'm in Portugal.
Okay, Portugal. Actually, we have a great collaborator who also lives in Portugal. So Isabelle is going to give the presentation, and then we'll hold comments and questions till the end. If you're using the chat function and you want us to get around to reading what you say, like if you want to comment or have a question through chat, just put the word read before if you can remember. And when we get to the discussion part, we'll have people raise their hands in the frame or using the icon button to the lower right to raise their hand. I'll remind people as we get started with the discussion to do that. Roger is going to be in and out today because he has additional obligations, so we'll muddle through. I am not much of a tech person, but we'll try to get everybody's comments and questions read if they're in the chat and so forth. So as usual, we'll be kind and patient to one another. Okay, Isabelle, take it away.
Thank you. Well, thank you first to you, Don and Roger, for welcoming me on your show, so to speak, on your program. It's really, really a pleasure. And as you said, it was just like a very first meeting. We clicked, we started to chat, and then we decided that we had so many things to talk about. And I really am grateful for the invitation. Welcome everyone. Welcome everybody. This is my first time talking to this audience, and it may not be the last one. Who never knows? I'm very pleased to be able to present you today with a little bit of my journey, which I decided to name Decentering is my homecoming, because for me, everything is in these two words, which I'm going to explain. All right, so let's rock and roll. Thank you. I'm going to show you my text versus slides, and I'll have images on the side, but so you can follow what I'm talking about, and then hopefully you can see my title page, correct? Where it presents who I am. Please confirm me. But because
Yes,
when I put the screen on, I don't see you anymore, so I'm going to have to go back and forth.
yeah, we
Right.
can see it.
Thank you. All right. So as you can hear from my accent, I'm not American. I'm an English-speaking Belgian person, originally from Liège, which is the French-speaking part of Belgium. And since I wanted to talk to you today about neurodiversity, transculturality, and narrative growth, all these things relate to identity in some ways. And so I thought starting by saying who I am, presenting myself to you, I mean introducing myself to you, would be a good thing. So this is the way I usually talk about myself. Usually it's not easy. But yes, I'm a Belgian person, like a very big mix of different things. I think I do have an international mindset. I certainly have a Portuguese heart, and as Don said, this to start this, I am right now in Portugal, and I do have a concern for worldwide well-being in a broad sense of it. I'm not talking only mental health, but also the health of the planet and the way we humans interact with each other. I do hate small talk. I'm saying that boldly, but I do love human interaction. So when I get to meet somebody new, it's usually a very deep conversation right away, just like I had with Dawn when we first met. And I think somehow my mission, so to speak, or what I think I'm doing best is to help people break free from limiting beliefs, and anything that looks like a prison, so to speak. All right. I also think, and that's a little joke, that I'm Mary Poppins. You know, when people ask you who you are, usually you need to explain um, with an image, an illustration, an example, who you relate to. And I think my role model is Mary Poppins, in a very serious way, even if it's a joke. Just because in her bag, if you remember the movie, she has all kinds of things that nobody really imagined that she would have, and she kind of pulls out things as she go along. So I think I'm gonna look at you again tonight. I think it pretty much sums up the way I see life, and I envision my job is to have a big bag, plenty of things, and according to circumstances and changing contexts, I pull out a different tool, and it's a little magic, right? It's a little chaos inside the bag, of course, but you can always pull out something interesting to play with. All right. Um, having said that, what I wanted to be when I grow up, because this is all about my journey and how I am going from decentering to homecoming. I wanted to be a detective, a witch, but a good one. A teacher for adults, a psychologist. I wanted to sing. I wanted to do philosophy and explore the world. I think I'm not too far from that in a way, um, because going through studies in philosophy, anthropology of communication, that's how it's called in my master's, ethnopsychiatry, teacher training, gifted education, learning different modalities of therapy, focusing on psychotraumatology, and then getting certified in cultural neuroscience and multiple interviewing. That's a mouthful. All these things to me kind of put me on the path of where I am today. The one thing I'm still missing, and that's on my next thing, my to-do list, is teaching at university, writing a book that's been on the to-do list for a while, and healing from my Tsundoku chronic disease. For those of you who don't know what Tsundoku is about, it's the Japanese word for people who pile up books without reading them, or at least putting it off, like pushing it, postponing until they have time, which we never have, or we don't make time for it. But being surrounded by books and having the pleasure of buying them, even if it's not to directly diving into them, is actually a joy. I mean, I really confess that it's an addiction of mine. Oh well. So I'm gonna probably, I see a few people reacting. Probably I'm not the only one with this Tsundoku disease. All right. Um, so what do I do for real? Oops, not too far. What do I do for real? I'm an anthropologist, um, like Dawn is, in a different way though, and a psychotraumatologist, as I said. I'm also a coach for expat people and gifted people. And oh, why did I put trainer and trainer? Because I had copy paste, and it's supposed to be supervisor and trainer. Well, sorry for the problem in here. Trainer and trainer, yeah, sure, but also a supervisor. So I work mainly with who I call gifted nomads, meaning people who are actually very highly skilled and talented, and who travel the world a lot, or have a multicultural background, either from being born and raised in a place, or just traveling for their job. So I do have exceptional expats, as we call people, who combine giftedness and autism. And in a way, international backgrounds are kind of the common point between all these people that I work with. And I put a quote under there from what they told me. It's a typical thing they tell me. At least when you're new somewhere, people think you're acting funny for a good reason. So that kind of explain why I think sounding a little bit, I'm going back and look at you again, sounding a little bit strange or having peculiar habits can just go through very smoothly when you are in an international context, because everybody's different there. Everybody's been traveling. Nobody knows when they arrive the cultural codes and social cues and all these things yet. And so being looked at as different isn't different, it's normal. That's where difference becomes normality. So that's exactly to introduce my thinking about the blurry line between these notions, you know. Having said that, I do support their life and career and culture transitions. This is the whole point of me working in mental health and coaching, so either therapy or coaching, and supervising people who need to make these big moves. And moving can be in different aspects. Moving can be geographic. A move can be an intellectual move and emotional moves, of course. So these people are always like game changers and slashers and people who try to better the world and better themselves. What happens to them, us, you, me, those who kind of relate to this gifted nomads profile, so to speak, that I have designed, is that it's a mix in their life between facts and masks. So things that are really powerful statements of what they are and who they are and what happens to them. And then the masking, which is sometimes just the adaptation, over adaptation, and doing what it takes to be accepted the way we think we should be accepted. We'll discuss that in length later on. So these people that I work with are people, as I said, in a state of movement, motion, who don't fit in the boxes, the usual boxes that society designed for us, but they're not necessarily caught, imprisoned in conflicting cultures. I don't believe in that. You're not a prisoner of a culture. You actually try to move freely, but it's not escaping. It's different. It's really adaptability and agility. So navigation for me is a better word for that than being imprisoned. You actually navigate, and yes, sometimes there's a tension, and it's between the sense of belonging and assuming your uniqueness. And yes, it's tiring. We all know that. These people that I work with have a different way of relating to various aspects of life, time, space, language, emotions, you name it, I put them there. And sometimes that becomes painful and they don't feel aligned with what's expected of them because they're outside the norm, outside those boxes. And to me, this is not only, as I said, a geographical nomadism, it's an existential nomadism. It's like it's something inside of us, which is why I prefer to talk about cross-cultural and transcultural versus just intercultural, because it's really something that is embodied, some things that is a part of us, something that is really an identity and a culture, and not only just communication tips or performance on do's and don'ts about things, right? So when you connect the dots about all these things that my clients present, mostly, when I say like that, mostly, it's about hyperfocus, which sometimes is hypervigilance, depending if it's based on deep interest or anxiety. Every single time you can spot multiple frames of reference inside the one same person. So I used to say in French that we are plural inside. There are several of us inside of us. Of course, on the psychological part, it's the parts of the self, but it's really like knowledges and the way we process emotions and stories that we have about ourselves and the world that are multiple inside of us. Sometimes they suffer from an intellectual solitude, because when you are at the top of your career or of the goes thing, whatever you call that in English, the go score, you may feel a little lonely. There's usually a fear of not belonging, although there is a very good talent for belonging, mingling with people, and usually those gifted nomads and talented expats do know how to interact with people, but they just fear they're not succeeding. So they try harder each time, which leads to exhaustion very often. There is also a very great deal of sensory hypersensitivity. So these things, which are, I'm going to look at you again. I like to see people, so I'm going to move back and forth. These things about being sensitive to sound, light, textures, and things on the skin and everything. So yes, that can be hard when your environment is new, or you have to adapt to something different each time, because you don't have your comfort and routine, and you cannot necessarily monitor every single aspect of your environment. And also the typical thing, which is having this peculiar vocabulary, sense of humor, or even logic or way of reasoning, which, and I put peculiar into quote unquote, because actually for us it sounds normal, and for others it sounds different. Usually they apply a great deal of energy studying cultural codes, trying to make the environment again predictable. We have like relative success in that. There is an existential, we can say that, existential quest for meaning inside every single person that I'm dealing with. Of course, when people consult with a coach or a psychotraumatologist, for my different hats, it's because they have an existential quest for meaning. But even at large, I have observed that it's something that is widely shared. Some of them have also this need to kind of reconfigure their identity, start again a new narrative about themselves, and kind of transform their lives after enduring complex trauma, because that is also part of a journey of any human being, and especially when you consider the difficulty of being different in a society who wants you to be normal, if that ever means anything. Then of course you go through difficulties, and sometimes they are way more than difficulties. And complex trauma can be not only like violences and things that you have when you are a child, for example, but even in your adult life, just being constantly exposed to I want to say interactions that may be toxic or disrespectful of your needs, or just not attentive enough to, not being considerate to others. And we all live in a society right now where it's more and more difficult to be considered by others. Then of course you may develop some complex trauma on the social side of things, a relational type of trauma. Of course, when you have this speed of cognitive processing, it's not the average profile that you present to the world, and that is remarkable, and that is noticed on both sides of things. It means people see it, and so people see it for good and for bad. What I've decided to do with them, I want to say them, but I mean, I'm one of those people too. This is how I can relate. Is to deliberately use a holistic approach, if we can use big words, to try and make sense of their challenges in life, and giving them tips on how to reflect to make things better. The holistic approach is rooted in everything that I've learned so far. And to me, it's like a big mix of, look at you again. It's like a big mix of every experience or pieces of knowledge that I could just gather along the way. And this puzzle that I try and put the pieces back together makes up my job. But my job is actually who I am. People usually ask you, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, well, I do what I am, so to speak. What I do is who I am, and who I am is what I do. And you'll see later on, I'll explain why this is particularly true for anthropologists, right, Darren? I see you nodding. So I'll get to that in a minute. So that mix that I was talking about, that I'm using to help people and to make sense of the world, is of course all the social sciences, because it does give methodological guidance to lead your life. I mean, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. There are things that are down on paper to and accessible to explain how to lead a more satisfying life. Also, how to give support on the moral side of things, really pushing pushing the well-being, not only just problem solving. And for that, the narrative practices, for those of you who are familiar with narrative therapy and narrative practices, that's really a very good way to leverage people's assets. By the way, just a side note, narrative practices are kind of a deviation or variation outlet of anthropology itself. Oh, by the way, it all started at the ethnographic world. It's to make a long story short, it's about reshaping the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves, and that we tell ourselves about the others, and that the others tell about ourselves in a way that is liberating. It's really about emancipation, both in an inner way and in an outer way. So narrative therapy is trying to put words on things we feel and challenges we go through, and also a little bit of poetry back into hard life. Um, it's it's a discipline that focuses on beauty, the good things in life, and how we should look out for in an optimistic way, even if we are going through disasters, trauma, and hardships. And it's really a mindset and a way of being and looking at life. So I kind of like that a lot, and it relates to my job. Cross-cultural intelligence is, again, something that I focus on a lot. And to me, it's way above and beyond intercultural intelligence, because it's not only about knowing what to say and what to do and how to act with people. It's really feeling it from the inside, that you can relate to them, you can connect, you feel, you know, you can co-regulate. That also echoes the psychotraumatology and polyvagal theory and all that good stuff. So knowing from the inside how to connect with others is interesting, and gaining insights from being an outsider in new groups, is because it's a vice versa type of movement, is also something very important, because you have this capacity of going in and going out, not simultaneously, but very quickly, like zoom out, and focusing, and then see it as a broad vision. So this kind of double perspective is very, very typical of the anthropology. But also, when you have these talents, and I'm talking giftedness, and I'm sure people with autism also have it, it's this capacity of being an observer and a participant, which of course in anthropology we call it participant observation, but playing two roles, and they're not even roles. It's actually really embodied. It's more of an ability than a role, because you can pretty much never stop doing that once you master it. All right. So, of course, that's a little play with the names. A broad perspective, and I put 3 dots in between broad, because the perspective is broad, and also it's a perspective from abroad, meaning, you know, what's the difference between being strange and foreign? Can we relate between acting funny and just acting in an original way? And what about taking multiple perspectives at once? What about being able to wear different glasses at the same time? And I do believe that people with this profile have this talent and this capacity, like an inner tool, so to speak. like being able to conceive different things in one same mind and to entertain different thoughts at one same time. And I'll go to that in a minute too. What I use very concretely to help you understand how I do some of the things I do, I use an approach that I call symbolic creativity. I'm going to show you a little bit what it could be. And there. Look. That's these are samples of stuff that I use in my symbolic creativity approach. Beyond talking, beyond verbalization, there is meaning to be had, constructed, deconstructed, reconstructed through things, stuff, objects, artifacts that you can hold in your hand, sounds that you can play, images that you can look at or project yourself into or project your emotions into, and just tools and metaphors such as, keys. What is key to something? Something coming handy like a tool, but what is a tool? Shining like a star, or being, being the star of something. Wearing masks or ending the masking. Traveling and what's in your baggage, so to speak. What do you have in your bag? Is it yours or not? And anything that looks like a knot of problems, and how do you erase things with a heart-shaped sponge? So these can look trivial in a way, like this, in a cold way. But when we are in the middle of the session and somebody is kind of stuck trying to express things that they have inside, and sometimes words don't come the right way, or they don't come at all, and the body has to express themselves. And even if I'm working online at a distance, I can show the image to people, or they can have a little figurine next to them, the artifacts or something, even a souvenir that they brought back from a travel, and just using it as a support. How do you say that? It's really a base for grounding the thinking and the feeling. And it's also very good to extrapolate things and start telling the story in a new way and being a little creative and reintroducing poetry, as I said, with the narrative practices, and something a little fun to take away the stress of the moment, and to actually come down to something that people like and can relate to and feel with their fingers. I mean, somatics are really interesting and important in there too, not only my ear takes, right? So I kind of like to use both the conversation, therapeutic conversation, and stuff you can use for real, and really project yourself in it or out of it. I hope that makes sense. We'll discuss, and you can ask me all the questions you want at the end. Anyway, so I'll let you read the blah blah once you get my script. So decentering, as I said, is my homecoming, because this is what I am and what I do for a living and what they are. So people can feel that I do understand what they're going through, which is extremely important when we need to build trust and this therapeutic alliance or coaching aliens, depending on what hat I'm wearing, that people really feel that we're meeting them where they are at and not forcing them to come meet us, which is usually what society asks from people. So this is based on different things that I think are important and that I see coming back over and over again. The central concept of otherness is being different, being diverse, or I mean, is diversity a difference, or are we all diverse in a way, and so that would be normality? As I said earlier, is this strange or foreign? Is this just another way of doing things, or this is just unheard of, which doesn't mean wrong? And so innovation can kick in there. And then for those people suffering, because sometimes it is actually painful, do you feel just like an alien or truly alienated by yourself or by others? Because there's a difference. I mean, those words, I like to play with words, of course, that's the kind of thing. Polysemic work is also something I'm very much into, but it tells you something. It actually means that are we so different than that from the others? And is this a good thing, a bad thing, just a different thing? And how can we just be ourselves amongst all the other ones who would also be themselves? Because that's the point. It's not a right that is only for us to conquer. It's actually for everyone to revindicate. I truly believe in that. So what I see a lot of also, and that's a typical thing, and I know that people on the autism spectrum, people with giftedness, and people with high anxiety all have that, is this typical pattern recognition talent, where you actually look at something, someone, or and you see the grid. I don't want to see the matrix, but it's really like a decoding thing. It's like you don't only look at what's happening, you also look at the process and the motives and the why people do what they do, and not only how they do it. And actually, it's like a scanner, like an MRI type of look. And that can be a little intimidating for other people. That can be impressive for some of them. But anyway, you see past the surface level and past the I see people relating to what I'm saying. You see past the appearance and the surface level, and yeah, you perceive things I don't know, like underground level type of thing. It's hard to express, but I'm sure you all see what I mean. I see people nodding, so that must be true. And I insist in the weed, and I insist patterns are not labels, because labels, that's what usually people stick on you, right? And that's what you have to walk around in the world with, and that's wrong. That's just plain wrong, if I may make a bold statement again. I also see a lot of dynamics in handling paradox, juggling with different views. And to me, it does not mean incompatibility at all. It means fruitful opposition, like the yin and the yang and stuff. It's not because things are very different from one another that they come in conflict with one another. Actually, it's an enrichment to kind of try and find a way to combine things. And combine doesn't mean just dissolution, diluting things. It's just everything keeps their integrity, but they both exist. It's like a very highly philosophical statement, but it's something that I see a lot in our functioning. And again, it's not confrontational, it's fruitful. And the typical things that occurs in those sessions and with this type of people is it's fruitful opposites, yes. It's complex system thinking galore. It's like complex is not complicated. It's very, very different again. Usually common sense doesn't make the nuance in there, but to us it's so different. Complexity is not necessarily complicated. And oh, by the way, for some of us, complexity is the simplest thing because simple things are difficult. But so the way to make these things intertwined and mingle and mix together is what I found absolutely fascinating working with this type of people. And of course, I feel less lonely thinking that I'm not totally crazy if other people in front of me relate to what I'm saying. That's also the feeling good part of it. All right. So that means, and this is kind of a very thought-provoking, provocative, on purpose statement, is that the nonsense radar is on 24/7. I want to look at your face, but just in case somebody. Nonsense radar is this thing it's a flashing light in your mind, a little red light, flashing when there is something inconsistent. Well, it flashes a lot, and in some environments, it remains lit non-stop. And apart from the joke, having this talent for spotting inconsistency, I'm sorry, is something that is sought after in the professional world when you are in a job that asks for it. Being vigilant, monitoring things like quality, supervising things, making sure that everything is in sync, not necessarily in order, but at least that things make sense. And that's something that you can use in regular everyday life to detect scams and discrepancies. Scams would be like somebody really wanting to manipulate you, and discrepancies is like it's more about like social justice and things like that. So it's like you see that people are subject to various treatments and unfair treatments, and you sense that very quickly, not only from the fact that they're complaining about or that they are suffering, but since you see the grid of things, you look at the setting of something, even a low, and you can tell right away, well, this thing is just not gonna work. I mean, for some people, I used to work in my way back when life also in project management stuff. That's a little personal anecdote, so you can relate. And they have these protocols that they use to see if the project is viable or not. Well, I never used any of the protocols. I could tell right away if the project was viable or not. And if a project, I see people laughing, like, yeah. If a project was like 10 steps long, I could tell from step 2 that it would fail at step 7. And I would tell them at step 4, as a warning. But of course, don't kill the messenger type of thing. It never worked, because if you announce too early what people don't see yet, then you're the bad one. But if you don't say anything, and the project, of course, fails at step 7, then they tell you, if you haven't said, why didn't you warn us? It's a very interesting catch-22 for people who see people laughing, from people who can predict the future. And no, I'm not I don't read crystal balls. So many people told me when I was younger, it's even worse when you're a kid, like, do you read minds? No, I don't read minds. I read behaviors. I do read behaviors. And guess what? Your behavior is an extension of what's on your mind. So yes, of course, in a way, I can predict what's going to happen. But no, I don't need it. I don't even need a crystal ball. I just look at your eyes and your body and the situation you're in. Anyway, that was a side note to make you laugh a bit. So that's one thing. But in here, I put there's a dark side of the moon to this, because lucidity can create disillusion. And once you have seen something, you cannot just pretend that you haven't. And well, thank you. See people being interesting and interested, but I'll take all the congratulations you give me. I'm just kidding. Lucidity does create disillusion. Once you have spotted something, there is no way you can pretend you haven't seen it. So that's going to stick with you. And that can also create, resentment, anxiety, and despair and stuff. So that's something to work with. Another thing that I can't stand, while we are at me saying all that I don't like, I can't stand noise. And I put noise into brackets because noise can be so many different things, right? Noise, like loud people, screaming and yelling, and loud TV and radios and music in supermarkets. Okay, too loud, no. But noise is also irrelevant piece of information within any system, like stuff, fluff, like ball. And everyday life is full of that, of stuff that just don't matter. I mean, to us, in a way. So I reckon, sure, that there is what we call the fatigue function of communication, which is that not sharing any content, substance, but making sure that we're still on the same sheet of music, making sure that we're still understood, and just working on the connection, and not on sharing deep things. But beyond making sure that we are still in communication, if you saturate the exchange with pieces of information that are not new data, so to speak, the level of boredom rises quickly, and just you end up like taking a nap and you stop listening and everything. So we also have to work on keeping people interested and keeping ourselves interested, and also trying to mitigate this impulse for what's seen cannot be unseen. Yes, exactly. I like the little monkey over the way. Thank you, Tom. So anyway, yes, that's something that I find is extremely important. Is noise is not only about sound, it's also about relevance, right? And then reflexivity is really more of I don't want to call it an attitude. It's more again of a mindset and a double nature, second nature. Because once you scrutinize things so much, you can also apply that same level of attention to what I call endogenous BS, meaning sometimes we came up with weird things, and sometimes we also have biases and stereotypes and everything. We're not immune from that, right? And if we pretend we're looking at the world with a sharp eye, we also should look at ourselves and the way we practice what we do and everything, because I think humility in that sense is, it's not only an intellectual humility, it's also just being aware of what we are, where we are, and the positioning that we take towards the other people. So that's a number one for me. I put it in number 3 on my list, but actually number 1. And again, reflexivity for people who are anthropologists, that's the one thing that you're supposed to be doing all the time, because you're observing other people, but you form knowledge also by looking at the way you change while you are with the others and observing them. We usually in social science we say that the observer looking at people changes those people, but yes, in anthropology we also say that the observer changes themselves by being among others. So that's very paramount for me. All right, my compass and pillars. I only put 3, but I guess I could have like a whole laundry list of things that I think are foundational. Believing the human potential, because to me, you have to be, we are, humans have to be both well-rounded and well-grounded, meaning you need time for your self-development, and you need time also to develop the skills that you're going to use to connect with others. I put in there multilingualism, lifelong learning, some me time, and regular checking your own mental health to see if you're not too far off. Another foundation for me is relating to the natural beauty. And I really mean that in a genuine way, because this world, this earth, is just so full of wonders. And yet we are exposed to just negative stuff all the time. And if you watch the news at night, it's only bad news, because news is bad news. I'm like, yeah, when do we have a journalist like crafting a full night, I mean a full TV journal with only good news? I wish that makes sense. Like, if anybody here is a journalist, well, that's my mission to you someday. Just to be more like uplifting and sharing the beauty of the world, what people succeed in doing, all the good initiatives that are out there, all the come on. I mean, otherwise it's just amplifies the perception of the world is bad type of thing. But it's not true. The vast majority of people, situations, landscapes, and so, well, unless they are being ruined by some industrial things, but the vast majority of our surroundings can be looked at, must be looked at with a positive, in a positive way. I am, I guess, absolute optimistic in that regard. But, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna change. And so natural beauty, to me, it's about landscapes, it's about music, it's about literature. These people who can use carefully selected words to just state exactly what they mean and what you echo with. And something as easy as I put in here as sharing a meal with genuinely welcoming people where in you somewhere, it's just like, what a blessing. And all of that must be, to me again, but again, maybe I'm just biased with my job as a psychotraumatologist. Psychological safety is so important. And that comes from fairness to me. It means having interactions that are marinating into goodwill and just genuine being good to each other and wanting the best for them and and I mean, a little gesture goes a long way, and it's just so much energy that humans can share. Anyway, I feel like I'm giving a lecture of moral stuff, but I'm not. I'm really. It's truly something that is inside of me that I think we should go for, feeling safe about each other and around each other. And adaptation, as I put in here, doesn't have to come at the price of erasing yourself. Being part of a group and feeling accepted should not come at the price of cutting off an arm and a leg to fit into that box, right? You can kind of do like acrobats do, like, just play around a little bit and stretch your muscles so you get in the box. But if you have to cut off a limb to get into the box of acceptance, then it's a no-no. All right, what I truly believe in. Well, so many things. Again, I only put a few. I really truly believe that anthropology is a way of being in the world. It's not only a discipline. It's not just something you study or practice. It's something you embody. And I put it this way. I mean, I'm trying to put it that this way. You just don't perform ethnography. Ethnography transforms you, as I said earlier, and you don't only do anthropology, you are an anthropologist. I hope that Dawn can relate to that. It's really a mode of being in front of the world or inside, not just a perspective. Again, even sharp eyes have blind spots. Oh yeah. Never forget that even if you have subtle perceptions below the surface level, we still must all exercise critical thinking, because every viewpoint is situated, that's a fact, and being autotelic isn't being omniscient. So these are big words too, but finding purpose within and for itself is not the same as being like all encompassing and just thinking you're God or whatever. It's really keeping the awareness of our human condition and knowing that even if we've learned a lot of things by traveling the world and traveling around books, for example, also, we still need to remain humble and critique in the way our own opinions are formed, because we're not exempt from falling into the same traps as other people do. The truth lies in the middle. I actually love this one. I should have put lies in between quotes and quotes, because I love the play on the words with the truth and the lies. But that's how English is pronounced. The truth lies in the middle. If you're looking for something right, and I put again quote unquote, right, it's probably somewhere in the middle of what you think is really right and what you think is really wrong. Because in life, everything tends to be a mix, as I said, of different truths. And all that stuff is relative anyway, depending on where you're coming from and where you're going to, or what you're getting at. And finding balance in our lives, in our thinking, in our emotions, in our jobs, in our way of interacting with others, to me, it's just, again, a piece of harmony again. And it's not idealistic, or I hope not too much. It may be idealistic, but it's a pragmatic one, I think, because it's a deliberate decision to find balance in things, or at least seek balance. And that can be between humor and rigor when you explain something to people, between, as I said earlier, meiotics and somatics, so having your brain coming to create new stuff, and your body to accept it and feel okay, and between, in our case, standing out and blending in. And the only way is up, as I said. Yes, sure. That's the optimistic person in me. I think with the combination that we have inside, with this inner exile, and the fact that we do have a place in the world that we can speak from and make a difference, it's really, for me, the embodiment of that intersection that I see between cognitive and cultural diversity. So what I advocate for is those three words that I titled my presentation with. Transculturality, to me, is the notion that challenges the binary of us versus them. And that's why I do not believe in intercultural models. I mean, the ones that were developed in the 70s, because you're feeling seen. I'm so glad. Thank you. Because in the 70s, intercultural models were developed, where, of course, different countries had not been mixed yet so much than today. But for me, we are way beyond that. These are obsolete models, and we should work and talk about cross-cultural models and even transcultural models now, because it's an all-encompassing, embodying differences. And this generation, I'm going to say it like that, is so different from the one when these models were developed. At that point, you would just travel for your studies, for example, or for your career. Now, you are born and raised from parents who did travel for studying and working. And so you already are marinating, like, in the sauce of transculturality, which is one step further than interculturality. And so when you have people still talking to you about these country-specific dimensions, like cultural monoliths, it loses me. I'm like, this is just so wrong. I mean, not right anymore in that sense. Neurodiversity is, of course, something that I I advocate for, because that challenges the binary of normal versus disorders. And since all variations of the human mind and brain are not deviances, the same way, not all conditions are defect, whether it be in a medical side of things or just it's not because you have something different that it's weird and should be corrected. Um, and that's why I put in there, are we different or considered different? Because most times it's not so much what we exhibit, it's also the way people receive what we exhibit. But that's true also from us. So again, never never exclude us from that thinking that when we look at others and we think they are not the same, well, yes, because we perceive some things out of them that is not all what they are. That's the thing. We always lacking one side of the story. So narrative growth, which was my third term, I like this one because it challenges the binary of a failed self versus a shiny one or fixed one. And yes, we are all far more than we think we are, let alone what others think we are. And yet, we are not a character if we don't author or re-author our own story. I mean, the sense of agency is something that is so important. And it's not incompatible with the sense of connecting to others. It's because of agency that we can go meet otherness. It's because we have a strong identity that we can actually relate to the other being also with a strong identity of his own. So to me, these notions, again, it's not two blocks, two monoliths like conflicting. There's no friction. It's a spectrum, the same thing. It's like it's a continuum, like flow. You love reauthoring your own story. Well, go for it. That's the type of thing that I encourage everybody to do because it gives you a new perspective on yourself. So the journey continues. This is my these are my last points. And the journey continues for me and the people I work with through quirkiness. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Quirkiness. And a very deliberate one. Because in a way, I think that mastering what's expected is is what give you a way out of it. Once you actually exceed expectations, as they call it in your performance appraisal at work, usually, exceeding expectations is also a way to buy your own freedom and to go like, okay, now you know that I know, and now let me do it my own way because you know what, it's going to be even better than what you you advised me to do. Of course, the journey continues through, enduring and being resilient because sometimes not everything is easy and fine. That's for sure. But I want to keep showing up, and people who come to me for consultations want to keep showing up. That's why they show up in session, to overcome their trauma and to build bridges between all the things that they have inside to kind of connect the dots. It also continues through dialectics. I love this quote from a Portuguese writer, which says, "The wise man is he who can entertain several thoughts at the same time without them coming to blows." So to me, that's a perfect illustration of this finding a way to make things work. And it's not about compromises. It's about radical acceptance of differences, which is way different. And last but not least, meaning making, because we need to continue construct sense. And that's how a make-believe Mary Poppins gave you a talk for Yale University today. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm gonna go back to here and show you up my last picture, which is to me the illustration of decentering. Decentering is having a base, but then being able to shed light on different things from various places. And yet you can have all these bulbs lighting at the same time. So you have a broader light. So with that, I thank you for your attention, and I'm really, really looking forward to some of your feedback and questions. Thank you.
Oh, Isabelle,
Yes,
that was chef's kiss, golden. Oh, I can't thank you enough. I'm a little overwhelmed, as you can see.
well,
I
I'm
think
glad you got it.
you just spoke the truth of so many people here and so many people I know. I was just talking to somebody the other day about animal intelligence studies and how they'll do these intelligence studies and say, oh, you know, a crow is as smart as a 5-year-old child. No, they are brilliant at being their holographic self in Cronus and brilliantly meeting you more than halfway to try to communicate with you. And I feel that's what so many of us face, this ridiculous notion that we are somehow not socially capable, when in fact every person I know in our group globally and in CASY is socially gifted, actually socially gifted. And I feel like you underscored that with much of what you said. So thank you so much for that. So if anybody has questions or comments, whether they want to raise their hand or write in the chats things they want us to read, that would be great. And we try to do this in a slow manner so that people have the chance to process if they want to jump in.
I realized it was a lot of content that I share, a lot of ideas. So maybe it takes time to just settle down. But thank you. I'm reading all the little comments and that warms up my heart. Thank you very much.
Roger, are you here? Did you come back?
Yes, I am monitoring.
Oh, good. I don't think people would mind. I would love for you to go back and just read some of the comments people made as we went along.
Sure. I'll start with yours, Don. It says, people think I'm, quote, naive, unquote, but I see it all. I just let it go if I know it's a defense mechanism they use. Okay, we got some great compliments here. I'm gonna step out early, but great insights. Several perspectives that really provide gifts that might help a number of people. Another compliment, brilliant presentation. Someone saying, I'm feeling, quote, seen, unquote, by Isabelle. Eerie and reassuring simultaneously. Amazing presentation. Another comment, so validating, insightful, and inspiring. Another comment, love that, quote, reauthor my own story, unquote. Next comment, I feel like the ghost of my cultural studies. Reading by Jacques Derrida might be informing my reception and understanding of these views. Interesting. And one lover of your French accent.
Well, thank you.
Yes, true, it's beautiful. And about crows and animals, yes. Lots of thanks and compliments on a spectacular presentation. People commenting how it resonated with them. And as a read here, this was amazing. I am still teaching myself that I am awesome, not awkward. And I have just explained to my Gran that it is external world around us that confronts us with abnormality. Thanks for breaking this down into takeaways. And I think that's it.
Well, thank you. I'm humbled I'm blushing actually with all what you just said. Thank you. It feels good to be listened to, and if that could help some people put words into what's happening inside of them and around them, then I'm happy. Thank you very much.
It says, oh, I lost it. Hang on.
Maybe you are reading my mind. Yeah, maybe it was.
You articulated so many things out loud that go on in my mind. Maybe you were reading my mind. Thank you so much. Yeah, if I may, I'm wondering how common it is for people here to be labeled as gullible or naive, when in fact, as I was saying earlier, I see it all. I see what they're doing. I see the inconsistencies. I see, and they're usually coping mechanisms, or that grow a pearl around shame. If you know, and if someone doesn't have ill will, I just let that go. It's not that I don't see it, and even when people have nefarious intent, I will let it go until I really just can't anymore. That doesn't mean I didn't see it all along. If you or anyone else has thoughts on that, I'd love to hear.
Just like in the movie, right? Yeah, I can relate to that. I was reacting.
Says, yes, same here, Dawn. I don't acknowledge what I see because I let it go in the thought that they are working out their own depths. Yeah. And yeah, the Lucy movie for sure. Yeah.
I agree with what Don just said. I do the same thing, sometimes out of compassion for the person because I realize they're not ready to see what I see in themselves or in the situation, and sometimes even for my own safety, knowing that if I reveal what I can see, what I notice, what I perceive, it could be used against me, so I'd rather keep quiet and know what I know.
And even without a threat. I mean, when people are not receptive or not ready to welcome a new view on something, then it's just a waste of time because they just won't process the information. So when people are open to novelty or discoveries, then yes. If not, then no, it won't work anyway. So I very much understand your position in that. I see somebody.
I see someone with their hand up.
Oh,
Did you want to go?
wonderful, especially the part about like constantly scanning and checking for patterns out of safety. As I appear, I am male, I am black, and autistic, and it has been interesting because I only got discovered last year. And so learning all of these things and learning to manage the anxious part has been so helpful. And just hearing that is consistent across different neurodivergent experiences. That was me who said inspiring, validating, and something else. Because I can't turn it off, and it's mostly been as a matter of safety. But again, as of last July, I'm learning to manage it as anxiety, and also, to your earlier point, finding that middle space of what could be true for what I feel is true, and what the other part or person in the relationship. So incredible. In a French accent, that was also me. Appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would love for you to get a hold of me about doing a session on your intersectional experiences if you are at all interested. You represent several intersectional places that we would really like to include in this group. So if you're willing to talk to me about that, it would be great.
Absolutely.
I second that. I want to hear that.
I'm putting my email address in the chat. You can reach me there. I appreciate the invitation to share. I don't have many spaces for that.
Yeah, that's something that we're actively working hard to remedy. We had a steering committee meeting recently where that was one of our main objectives. So thank you.
A heartfelt thank you as well.
Anybody wants to share their experience or challenges or solutions? So early on, asking a question probably, but maybe it was just a comment. So please feel free.
I could ask a question if you have time. I'm just wondering, the last quote you said about holding two ideas in your head at the same time. It's something I read that a long time ago as well, and I've always had that in my head too. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and so I'm not trained as an anthropologist, but I see both sides of every issue automatically. It really can be quite stressful, and I was just wondering if you had any tips on, I'm always challenging different opposing ideas, in my head. And so I see both sides, but then I'm always trying to find out which one is right, which obviously both sides can be right. I'm just wondering if you have any kind of suggestions on how to calm down that over-analysis in a way.
I do that all the time with my people. But first, let me submit something a little provocative to you. If you are a documentary filmmaker, you are an anthropologist in the way I see it. You go deep dive and investigate things to their, the bottom line of things, and showing processing and how it works, and I don't know. So yes, to me that would fall under the category of anthropological work, in a way. But and yes, when I say the ability to entertain two thoughts at the same time, I'm not talking schizophrenic stuff where you feel like, absolutely belonging to two different things, but sometimes having mixed feelings about things, or being in the front of a dilemma because both options seem equally good, and you would understand all the reasons why A is good, but also all the reasons why B is good, and you're stuck in the middle. That's such a typical thing that I do with my coaches all the time. How do you kill a dilemma? You work with the tetralemma. I don't know if that's the same word in English, but probably yes. That comes way back when from the Greek philosophers and even the Orientalist philosophies and stuff. Tetralemma means 4, whereas dilemma is 2. So when you're stuck in between 2 options, A and B, you cannot decide and you're stuck. What you do is you kind of work, you want a concrete tip? Let's do it. Take a piece of paper and a pen and design a big square, which you divide into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is A, quadrant 2 is B. That's your typical dilemma stuff, right? And you write down under each, or what you think this particular option is a good reason, it's a good thing that you should do. All the good stuff about A or bad, all the good stuff about B. Then that's where it becomes interesting. You expand your horizon and you start triggering like creative thinking. You take quadrant 3, and that quadrant is called A and B, and I'll go back to that in a second. And the quadrant number 4 is neither A nor B. All right, so you have A, B, A and B, neither A nor B. This is a tetralemma versus a dilemma. What you put into the A and B is every single formula, even weird as you can think of, to combine a little bit of the two. And again, it's not about making compromise or diluting the truth of each into a big whole. It's like, let's say I'm going to start by A and then continue with B, or I'm going to start with B and then continue with A, like a sequence in a chronological order or reverse order. I'm going to do a lot of A and a little bit of B just to have the little flavor of it, because I really, really don't want to negotiate that little particular small thing on the B. The rest of it can go, I can let it. Or I'm going to do the bulk of B and I'm going to complement it with a little bit of the A because I really don't want to let that go. Okay. Or I'm going to start and going in spiral, and I'm going to do A, B, coming back and do like loops of iterative cycles where I'm going to come back and incorporate, just like you turn into the sauce. You're going to incorporate ingredients, but as taking turns, So you break it down into digestive bits, and then you do a little bit of A and then a little bit of B, so it gives you like air ventilation in your neurons, and then, or in your life, or challenges. And then you come back to a little bit of A and then a little bit of B and everything. And you can break it down by thematics or anything. I mean, there's a million different ways of working out that intersection between A and B. It can be an addition, it can be a sequence, it could be alternance, it can be majority and minority. It can be now, like immediate stuff, and then later on, one can be conditional and the other one no. It's like I will do B if this comes out of A, and if not, then I stop. And so you can pretty much think of every single way of mixing those two things without any of them losing their nature. See what I mean? I hope it's not too abstract. And then you go, and then in there with a patient, once we even came up with like 12 options already, only for that third quadrant. And then on the last one, which is neither A nor B, That's actually the wild card. That's the secret magic stuff where anything can happen. That's the option of the unexpected, of innovation, of this is the thing out of the box thinking that nobody would ever dare to do. But guess what? I'm gonna do because I dare doing it. So when the audacity lies into that last one, the never anybody did that before type of remarks that you could say yourself or somebody could tell you. And that's where you kill the limiting beliefs of I need to choose between A and B. And if you play with that tetralemma, you actually have still all your good reasons for A, all your good reasons for B, or bad and bad, depending what you're comparing. All the how am I going to compare all that stuff in a way that I can get the best of both worlds? And then if I think out of this world, and then I actually just explode the limitations of my own thinking, then I can come up with a solution that I didn't even think that I could think of. And there you go. Altogether, if you don't have 15 options, you don't have any. And so your dilemma is dead. Because now you can choose between 15 stuff versus being torn between two. Does that help? I know, like, explained like that, it's a little abstract, but trust me, I've done this on a table with a piece of paper and a pen. It works wonders. Try it and then send me an email to tell me how it works.
Thank you. No, it's great to have a visual idea because I think visually too. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Very welcome. Good luck.
I want to remind everyone that we can also continue, because I know I'm going to be thinking about this a lot for a long time. We can continue the conversation on the Facebook page underneath the announcement of your talk and have a discussion there. And I wanted to ask, are the ideas you presented, are those proprietary, or are those something you can actually put a link to under your talk description on the Facebook page?
I can, let me think when we can do that. I can probably send you my text of today, you know, the PDF that I share. Voila, it's for use. I mean, I have no problem sharing what I have because guess what? Tomorrow I'm going to come up with other ideas. I mean, not different, but on the same line. But so nobody's going to ever take that away from me. So, you know, information retention is really not my thing because there is so much information being created all the time. You can do what you want with this one. I'm going to have more the next day. But also, you know, along the same lines, because, you know, if I said and wrote about what I truly believe in, what I advocate for, what I find aligned with, it's not something that's going to change from one day to the other. These are really foundations of what I do, and voila, that's a given.
Thank you, because I would like to read and reread many of the things that you said, and there was confirmation in the chat. I didn't see who said it, but someone else said they'd love to see it. So if you can send it to me, if you don't mind, I'll put it up on the Facebook page.
I'll do that. I'll correct the little misspelling thing about twice, trainer to trainer, which is, I think, the only big mistake I made. Hopeful. And then I'll send it to you. Yes, sure. No trouble.
Great. Thank you so much. I love how collaborative our group usually is. Like it's really inspiring. Is there anybody else that has a last minute question before we close, or a comment or an experience they want to share?
If people want to get a hold of me because they may have questions for later on and stuff, or want to give me a call or send me an email and even book a session, whatever, or just sharing with me how this resonates with them. Let me just see if I'm still sharing my screen. I can probably show you. That was my last. Voila. The contact info page. Do you see my slide in there where I put my email address and website address? So you can always shoot me an email. Mind you, it's hemispheres at mail.com, not Gmail, not Hotmail, there is nothing before the mail.com. Because usually applications like add one more letter in there and then it goes somewhere, but it doesn't reach me.
I love what you did with the hemispheres and the hemispheres of the globe. That was brilliant.
My logo, well, it's actually the word, our brains, and the motion.
Right.
And again, it's all about, in the brain you have two hemispheres, and in the world too, well, depending on how you divide it, north, south, or east, west, and these things, these parts, all the parts that are inside of us and outside of us, communicate and share and form a big whole, which is the whole and not a whole, which is the whole thing about making sense of a globality, so to speak. So to me, giftedness, autism in a way, nomadic lifestyle, expatriations, all that triggers this sense of movement, not living static lives. And oh, by the way, no life is static, because the purpose of life is movement, right? It's as long as we move, we breathing in and breathing out, we're alive. When things stop moving, they're dead, so oops.
It looks like it was asking how would we contact you beyond this, and I don't think I understand the question.
Contact info. Okay, let me show you again.
Contact info. So did you see the email and the website there? Okay, so you do have it. And also anyone can get a hold of Roger and me and request information of that kind.
Let me put it bigger. Ooh, that's smaller. Boom, 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 boom. Okay.
Great, thank you. I just can't thank you enough. That was amazing. And of course you will come back. I can see that for sure. You're so much to talk about. Any one of those things you mentioned would be a session in itself. So yeah, you'll be back more than once, I'm guessing.
With great pleasure. Thank you for the invite. That was very, very cute. And I enjoyed this very much. So thank you for your paying attention and being so responsive. Thank you.
Great. And yes, thank you. And thank everyone here. And please go to the CASY Facebook page. We have the events button. You have to kind of scroll over a little to the right. And under the events button, if you tap that, are all our wonderful sessions coming up. And we're just so excited about all of them. So hope to see everyone back soon. And with that, I will say stay safe and thanks again.
Thank you very much to everyone, and till soon maybe. Bye-bye.